What's up guys, it's Vince here, and today I'm going to be making another optimization video, and this video is going to be a supplement to my last video, and I'd like to thank you guys for over 200,000 views on the last video. I appreciate all the support, and I hope this video helps you even further. So in the first part here, we're going to disable hardware acceleration on Discord and Spotify, and if you don't use either while playing Valorant, then you can just skip this setting. So the first thing you're going to do is open your Discord, and after your Discord loads, you're going to want to go to user settings and then hit advanced and then turn off your hardware acceleration, and then it'll close out by itself, and then after that you can just exit out of it. So next you're going to open up your Spotify. Once your Spotify opens, you're going to hit the top right where your profile is, hit settings, scroll all the way down, and then right here you're going to see enable hardware acceleration. Turn that off and you can just X out of it. So next you're going to go to your control panel, and at the top right you're going to search sound, hit sound, and then in playback you're going to disable everything but the main audio device you use by right clicking and clicking disable, and go to recording as well and disable everything but the main microphone you use as well. So next you're going to want to install the program ISLC, and I have it linked down below in the description. So what you're going to do is hit this right here and hit save, and once it loads here you're going to hit the arrow and then show in folder, and then after you're going to right click on it and then you can just hit extract here, and then you're going to see this folder right here. Double click on it and you're going to want to leave all these extra files, and you can just double click here, and if it doesn't show up for you, you can hit the arrow down here and you should be able to double click and it'll show up. Next, what you're going to want to do is hit stop so you're able to type in here, and what you're going to want to do is leave this as 1024, and then this down here you're going to want to base it off your RAM. So I have 32 gigs of RAM, so I'm going to do 16,000, and if you have 16 gigs of RAM you're going to want to do 8,000, and if you have 8 gigs of RAM you're going to want to do 4,000, and it's vice versa for the rest. And then you're going to want to hit start ISLC minimized, because you're going to want ISLC running in the background, and this makes it so you don't have to launch it manually. And next you're going to go over to enable custom timer resolution and click check, and you're going to remove this and do 0.5, and then it'll show up as 0.50. And then for the polling rate I recommend you leave it on 500 or 1000. Otherwise you can test these out if you want, but it doesn't work very well for me. After all that, you're just going to hit start. So next you're going to download MSI Afterburner and MSI Combustor, and you're going to run them at the same time. And MSI Afterburner allows you to overclock your GPU and CPU, and this is basically a stress tester to see if the numbers that you put are going to run optimally on your PC. So the first thing you're going to do when you have both of these running is you're going to hit run stress test at the top right of MSI Combustor. So with the MSI Combustor launch, it'll serve as a capacity tester for the core clock and memory clock. And we're going to go over to the core clock. What you're going to do is increase it by increments of 10 until your MSI Combustor starts like bugging out. It'll either crash or freeze, or your computer will just like end up going black for a couple of seconds before it comes back to the screen. But once that does happen, I recommend you either go like 10 or 20 below the number you got to before it crashed. And then the same thing goes to the memory clock, except this can go way higher than the core clock. I just recommend you go up by increments of 20, and you just hit enter, then the check mark as you go. And that's basically it for the core clock and memory clock. And then for the fan speed, go to the bottom left here, and then I would just put it as high as possible, just to the point where it doesn't really annoy you with your PC fans, and then just hit enter once you're done. I usually put mine around 75. There we go. And then next you're just going to want to go to the setting bar here, the gear tab, and then you're going to want to hit start with Windows and start minimized. And then afterwards you can just minus this out, and then you can completely close out a MSI combustor. Next, what you're going to want to do is download Malwarebytes, link down in the description. And what you're going to do is run a scan to see if you have any viruses or anything else that's slowing down your performance on your PC. So you're just going to hit scan in the middle. After your scan is finished, you'll see a couple of items that have been quarantined. And what you're going to do is check them off and then hit delete. And then afterwards you can just close Malwarebytes. And then you can completely quit it by hitting the arrow, right clicking, and then hitting quit. If you have a software for your mouse, I recommend you using 1600 DPI, and this will actually decrease your input latency. If you want to know more, I have a link in the description. And also, if you use 1300, it'll also decrease it by a bit more than 1600 would, but the only downside is that it's hard to navigate on your desktop. In game, you can just split your sense from what it normally is, and it'll feel like slightly different. It'll feel as if you're like sort of on skates, but it's pretty easy to get used to because it's very similar to what your normal sense is. Last video I went over a lot of my Nvidia control panel settings, but I can just go over my 3D settings and scroll through those, as well as some of the color options. So first you're going to hit manage 3D settings, and then you can copy some of mine that I have here. And that's it for that. And now we're going to go into the adjust video color settings, and you're going to put this on full with the Nvidia settings. And then next we're going to go into the adjust desktop size and position, and then if you're using stretch, just leave it on full screen, but if you're not, put it on no scaling and display, and then you can just hit apply. After you exit out of the Nvidia control panel, what you're going to do is hold down Windows and R at the same time, and then down here you're going to type in %temp%, and then hit enter. And then here you're going to find some files that you're not using, so what you're going to do is hit Control A, right click, and then delete. And then afterwards go to your recycle bin and hit Control A and delete everything. Next we're going to be going over some of my Valorant settings. For some of my general video settings, I just use full screen 1920 by 1080, but if you do want to decrease your input latency, I recommend you don't use 1080 and you just use one of the lower resolutions. And for Nvidia Reflex low latency, I recommend you try for yourself both on plus boost and on. See if you can tell that if there's a difference, because I know for some people on plus boost will make them like lag even more than they would if they had on, but usually on plus boost is slightly better than on anyway. And then for graphics quality, I just have everything on low, and usually I'll just end up turning up my anti-aliasing and anisotropic filtering to see my weapons better, but usually I just have it on low. And then for audio settings, HRTF is actually getting a lot better since the recent updates, and honestly you could have this on, but it's honestly just preference at this point. So I found a thread where it shows the best crosshair colors for each map, and the common theme was that for most maps cyan worked the best, but these are some of the colors that I use. So for overall, I just like use cyan for most of the maps. For Scent it's the same, for Mine it's the same, for Breeze it's the same. Fracture is just sort of like a lighter type blue, and for Haven it's also like a lighter kind of blue. And for Icebox, it's just a green. And for Pearl, it shows up as like an orange type color. And in terms of like voice chat settings, I just recommend don't have your voice chat bind it to your mouse. And then for voiceover, I just have gameplay on. Don't really mess with the agent flavor, tactical callouts, announcer, everything else. This section doesn't really matter, it's just preference. And that's basically it for the in-game settings. Thank you guys for watching. Please drop a like if this helped you guys, and subscribe for further content on improving your FPS and your overall gameplay.